Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the Season 2 Frontier Fields Roundtable. Really want to say thanks to Austin and Mark and Brian and Harmon for being able to be here today on episode 11. We intend to reflect on the results from 2025, really compare experiences and understand more deeply the conditions that shape the results of the trials from 2025. Anything you guys would add to that? This is a roundtable, which means you've got a seat here, and I got to be nice to you for a while, so we want to make sure we all get along. Anything you would change or add?
No, I think that sounds good. 2025 was a year that was wilder and different than we would have thought going into the season, but ended up respectfully. But was quite different than, at least in Minnesota, than we had hoped for and thought for, but worked out okay at the end.
That's good to hear. There were a lot of different conditions across that whole part of the world. Austin, you're not far from there. A similar experience for you in Iowa?
Yeah, this year was way different than the last several. We turned off really wet. We had the highest rainfall recorded in July this year, so it presented a lot of challenges to the year.
Kind of a roller coaster. Just out of curiosity, so when I think about you and Harmon, you guys are in and all you guys are in actually really good production conditions. But Harmon, Southwest Minnesota is a particularly high yielding part of the world. On average, did the yields actually exceed the norm?
Yeah, I would say in Southwest Minnesota, yields were record yields. And then as if you come a little further north, we had, I would say, APH yield, because we had a lot more rain as you move north than in the southwest part. We had a 5.5 inch rain, and we had another 3.5 and another 4 inch. And we pretty much every field we have has got a lot of tile, mostly pattern, but it still was just too much for the drainage ditches and the tile, and saturation, just a little bit too low.
No, Brian, you had some pretty fantastic yields in irrigated markets out in Nebraska. Tell me a little bit how those conditions affected your performance.
We kind of started off, really, really dry, and we weren't sure how we were going to end up. We caught some good rains there, and that's when we kind of knew the game was on. And we really focused on mitigating the stress throughout the season. Then we lost a lot of sunlight in mid-July, early August. And that's when we kind of started getting concerned on, what our outcome was going to be. But we stayed with it and made sure that we mitigated those stress events as much as we could. We come to the end of the season, and we still had that strong potential, and we followed it through to the end. And we've seen some tremendous results on our farm.
And Mark, tell me about Missouri and how your 2025 unfolded.
So we started, first time ever, we started planting in March, just planting beans as kind of like a test. And so started off with great conditions. Everything is absolutely perfect all the way up until, say July, middle of July. Potential was there. We didn't get any rain from I think we had 2 tens from July 15th all the way until September. Given all of that, we were pleasantly surprised with the way yields ended up. It's good. It's really good.
All of you had a field with trial volumes out. What I'd like for you to do is explain to me a little bit about, when you look at your data, where do you think that things could have gone better in the trial, or where do you think the yield came from in those instances?
Yeah, our trial, for the timing, we were a little later than we wanted just because of the rain issue. It ended up turning out pretty good for us. We were happy again this year. And I think it's just maybe if we flushed some nutrients, or it helped us there in that later season, and even in the stress environment we were in with all the disease and southern rust and tar spot that came in with all that moisture and heat we had, it kind of bridged that gap, I is what I'm taking from it. Going on later than we wanted, like you said, I attributed that weight of that kernel to get that yield.
That's awesome. On the flip side, Mark, we talked about the way we were going to try and get biologicals in the right place, and we aligned up on the front end of the season with your farm. And so we went with a BioPath, as I recall, a broadcast application. And we got, if I recall, did we get a bushel out of it? I can't remember for sure.
Yeah.
You'll have to remind me, Mark. But tell me what you saw in your trial.
Yeah, and some of that was, we had some wind damage, that large rain that I was talking about in July. We went from, we had a 40-acre trial is what we're trying to do, just a wider spread. And we ended up having to take it basically down. We ended up taking, I think, 20 and 20 of it. And of that, that's what we saw, the 1 bushel. And so even in there was probably still some corn down. So, see a bushel, it's positive, and so moving forward, we can kind of work with that as well.
Harmon, tell me about your trial and your experience this year, how it turned out for 2025.
So we actually did 2 trials. One we did, and we're in about 90% strip till. So the way we put our nitrogen on is with the planter. We're dribbling about 15 gallons of 28% on right behind the closing wheel. It's soft, boom, it goes right in the moisture, and we're in good shape. And that field, we actually show about a 4 bushel advantage at doing it at that time of the year. The other field that we did then was we put on in June on the side dress, and really only saw about a bushel difference. But after that, we had rain for 12 days. So I'm thinking maybe it got diluted out just a little bit and kind of lost. And so I'm excited to try it again in the future and keep working on that.
But when I think about Nebraska, I mean, Brian, tell me about your 2025 results and how you think you got what you got.
So we use the BioPath in furrow, and we put it up against our grower standard, which it's not your normal. We push it pretty hard. And, when we come to the end of the season, we ran the combine through it, we put it on the weigh wagon. BioPath lost by 0.8 of a bushel, which it's not really a loss because I got to doing some of the ROI this morning, and the BioPath actually won by $6.34 an acre if you run the math. There's some things that we could add to it maybe to help push those limits a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, in the environment that we had it in, performed very well. Like I said, it was in a high yield environment and we were happy.
When you were part of Frontier Fields and opening your operation to the rest of the people that watch this series, the goal is to try and say it's okay, I think, to be confident that biologicals can work, and that it's okay to say something can be adopted and go from there. Does this change your approach to biologicals? Were you already in the biological camp, or?
I think Harmon's bringing this up earlier. We're always looking at that next thing, and the biological market is something that a lot of people have put a lot of time and resources into, and so it's here to stay for a while. I guess what we had to do in limited resources, as far as we didn't have in-furrow, wide drops, all that. So we were limited. So I think we set ourselves up for an uphill battle. And so it's like trying to figure out where this works. What is the best way, like you said, how's the best way to get it into that house and environment to allow the root systems to take up the nutrients.
Yeah, so moving forward in 26, like I said, we've been experimenting with biologicals and BioPath for, I think this is our 3rd year. And then we're just trying to figure out that best placement for us. We've done it 2 years with the wide drop in season, and then we've also done it in furrow. So I think it definitely has a place. It's like Mark said too, it's I think the biological's here to stay. So it's figuring out where you can get your best bang for it.
Our biggest thing is when we come to these biologicals is we are trying to be as efficient as we can. Every year we do something different like this. I mean, we've tried other avenues to feed the biology, and we've kind of settled where we're at now. We want to keep taking it farther and farther, and that's why we're always willing to try these types of products, because sooner or later we're going to land on something that we're going to take to the rest of our operation. And looking at the numbers now, we had an ROI on it. And if we can see that over multiple acres, maybe this might be our new program.
So I was looking for something that had some research behind it. And I think that's what kind of led me a little more to the BioPath side of it, is that there has been a lot of research done on it. I'm excited to continue down that path. It's just 1 year. We did, 2 different fields, 1 trial in each field, had a little bit of success. I would like to next year kind of take it to 3 fields with the planter and 3 fields with the side dress. Now we have some data to kind of work with. I think we know that when you have good soil health, we have a lot of fertility out there, but how do we get that into the plant? And so I think that's kind of what excites me. And what I look for is that from that BioPath, it's got some research behind it.
That is great. Well, look, guys, I appreciate it. And I know, you've been very patient with me, grilling all of you over the last couple of minutes here. Really appreciate the time, the transparency, and the willingness of everyone to share their experiences from 2025. Please stay tuned for updates on new Frontier Fields episodes coming soon.
Thanks, guys. Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you.